Hello YouTube. In this video we're going to be exploring VPNs with Pfsense. This comes off the back of a comment that's been left in one of my previous videos, and I thought it was quite a good idea to make a video on it. So in this video what we'll be exploring is how to set up the openvpn in Pfsense, how to connect to the openvpn, and an analogy using AI as to what a VPN would look like in real life. So that's what we'll be exploring today. I hope you get value from this video. If you do, thumbs up, subscribe, comment. I love hearing your comments in terms of what can be done next. I noticed that somebody was in the comment section describing something around Pfsense and linking that to the arrestor switch in terms of something on layer 3, which I think is a really cool idea. And it's something that I'm actively trying to explore, probably with BGP or something. I don't know just yet. I'm still working it out. I'm still trying to get an idea about it. But you know, keep the comments coming. I do love hearing them. I do love seeing them. I do love just having an idea as kind of what's intriguing you and where the kind of mindset is. So yeah, I hope you enjoy this one. Enjoy the funny AI video after this, which kind of explains the analogy about VPNs in real life, like what they would look like, and then the video after, which is going to be about setting up the VPN in Pfsense. Cool. Hope to see you soon.
Am I the only one that didn't know you could secure messages with a VPN? Buckle up, tech enthusiasts. Imagine you need to send a card to your friend in another country, but you don't trust the mail service. What do? You encrypt it. Think of it like changing every letter in your message by one place. A becomes B, B becomes C, and so on. But hold up, what if the mail service knows your trick? Enter the secret tunnel. Picture this, a tunnel with gates at both ends. Only you and your friend have the keys. Now even if the mail service intercepts your card, they can't read it. Cool, right? But here's the catch. This tunnel takes forever to use. So you hop in your car and zoom through, handing the card directly to your friend. Voila! Fast, secure, and private. A VPN is like having your own secret highway for data. Now that's tech magic. Stay secure, stay savvy.
Hello YouTube. So today we're going to be having a look at VPN with dynamic DNS. So what I've done is I've gone to Services and Dynamic DNS, and within there what you'll see is a menu which allows you to create dynamic DNS entries, right, for your client. So why is that important when using VPN? Now it's important because essentially you don't want to remember a number of IP addresses in order to connect to your VPN service unless it's statically assigned. Now what we want to remember is that we want to remember just the name. We don't want to remember the IP addresses because there's many of them. It's pointless. So we want to remember a name where we can just say, right, okay, this is the name that I can use to connect to my VPN service. In my case, we're using openvpn. So what we need to do is we need to ensure that we have our name registered. So in other words, we have Cloudflare or Afraid if you want a free one. There's free DNS, for example. There's different types of providers which will provide you a DNS address. However, it will cost you a little bit in order to obtain that name. And in my case, that's hypevnetd. So I paid for that domain, I own that domain, and then I've created an entry called VPN. Okay? So the entry name is called VPN. One of the things that is notable is that Cloudflare, for some reason, doesn't proxy HTTPS traffic. I don't know why, but that is the reason why enable proxy is disabled in this case, because in order for it to work, we just can't have the proxy enabled. So it's going to expose the real IP address, which is sad, unfortunately, but I'll just change this later, and that should be fine. I put in my username and password, and essentially the username is the one that you use to log into Cloudflare. The password is the global API key. The global API key. Unfortunately, I'm not going to go through how to obtain that global API key because that global API key contains information which pertains to all of my domains. So unfortunately, I will not be able to go through that section in this video. Okay, but essentially the way that you get it is that you go to Cloudflare and then you click on the domain that you wish to find the API key for, and you click on Global API Key. You have to verify that you are human. It is a requirement from Cloudflare, and then you will obtain the Global API Key. So to make things a bit easy, what I'll do is I'll leave a link in the description as to how you can obtain the Global API Key, so that way you can set up your Pfsense box to have DIN DNS. The other things to note is that you want the interface to monitor to be the WAN, and the reason why is because every time that IP address changes, it's monitored on the WAN because that is your public IP address assigned by the ISP. And that's the reason why we need to monitor it on the WAN. Now I've selected the hostname to be one particular record, which is an A record or VPN. And I suggest that if you want to do it on one record, you do the same. If not, you can always use the @ symbol, as mentioned, to indicate the domain field that you wish to update, which means that you'll update the entire domain. Okay, so now that that's good, what I'm going to do is I'm going to force and save, as well as update the record. Okay, that looks pretty good. Pretty good. So what's the next part? The next part is that we need to create our VPN server. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to VPN, openvpn, go to wizards, and I'm going to check that the type of server is on local user access. Why? Because I don't have access to an LDAP server or Radius server. So a Radius server is just in the form of an authentication server. It does have a name to it. There is a complete name, and I forget the name. But essentially, it works with an external server in which you go and authenticate to. So something like OpenRadius, for example, and then you can authenticate through. There's LDAP, which is an authentication protocol, which something like Azure Active Directory can have, or Active Directory, which you can link into, and essentially authenticate that way if you want to authenticate with an external database. So next thing that we do is next. Now from here we need to set up the certificate authority. The certificate authority. I'm going to leave most things as default except for the common name. Now the common name I would like to put down as the name of the server, which in this case is going to be vpn.hypevnetd.com. I'll say that as my common name, and I'll put that in a note somewhere so that I don't forget that that's the common name, and put the common name down. Okay, cool. That's my common name, and it just makes things a bit easy when we create the user. So I'm going to just add the new CA, and then I'm going to add a new certificate because there's none on the server. Now this certificate is used for accessing the server essentially. I'm going to add a new CA cert. We'll call this server cert because it's a server certificate, and 2048 bits. I'm just going to keep everything more or less the same, and then I'm just going to keep the common name the same as well. Nothing fancy, it's just typically the host name of the system, so I'm just going to keep that as vpn.hypevnetd. Create cert, and the description. Oh, this is the actual VPN server itself. So description is just OpenVPN server, like so. I'm going to keep the local port the same. I'm not going to change that just yet because that's given me problems in the past. I'll keep it on UDP on IPv4. I think that's fine because I only have a IPv4 address, so that's fine. Let it do everything on the default. I don't have any cryptographic hardware, and the only thing that we need to make note of is the tunnel, the redirect, and the IPv4 local network. The IPv4 tunnel network is the network which is going to be used for clients authenticating into the VPN server to get assigned IP addresses. Okay, So what that means is, say for example, you're connecting into your network. So you're connected onto, for example, your ISP router. You get an IP address, right? Which is like 192.168.1.1, 1.2, 3, etc. Now, if you want to communicate with a computer which is on the same network, you would use 192.168.1.3, for example, right? Because you're not going to have VLANs. So if you think about it in those terms, it's essentially a network which allows you to do exactly that, communicate with different clients, or you can communicate with different services like your file server, depending on how you want to set it up. But the thing that's important to note here is that it has to be different from the networks we're trying to use on your Pfsense server. So in my case, I have multiple VLANs. I have 192.168.8.0, for example, 10.0, 13.0, 12.0. So what I want to do is I want to create a network, a tunnel essentially, which differs from the addresses which is being used on my primary network. So for this, what I'm going to do is I'm going to use a RFC 1918 address, which is going to be in the 10 range. But I'm going to subnet it so that way it's 24. Why would I subnet to 24 instead of /30? Well, if it's /30, all I'm saying is that there's one client on my network and one server, because only 2 usable addresses can be used. But if I update it to 24, right, I've got one for broadcast, one for the network address, which is 0 and 256. Sorry, 255. Yeah, 255, you can say 256 as well, but it's essentially 255. So 255 is gone, 0 is gone, leaves us with 254 usable addresses, and that means that multiple hosts can connect onto the server. So what I'll do is I'll create a /24 and 10, right, which is my network. Redirect IPv4 gateway. Right, redirect IPv4 gateway, all it means is, say for example you're in Thailand, you're on holiday, and you want to watch the BBC. Now, if you want to watch the BBC, there are certain things that you would do, right? One of them is use a VPN service, in which this video is sponsored by, okay, I'm not sponsored, but that would be a great segue to my sponsor. But the point is, we're going to take all that traffic, which is in Thailand, and make it look as if we're coming in from the UK by essentially saying, right, instead of going through the Thai ISP, I want all that traffic to go through my server in England, right? So that's essentially what we're doing. We're forcing all the traffic to go through the server in England. So it makes it look as if we're in England, right? So that's what we're doing. Now, I don't need that for this demonstration, so if you want that on, very good, but just be clear that there is a performance penalty to this, because now all of the information is going to be processed by the VPN server, so your CPU and your memory may spike. IPv4 local network. IPv4 local network, all that means is what networks can my clients which are connected to my VPN access. So, for example, you might have a file server on 5.3, which is local to your network, and if I want to access that server, then I need to inject the route to say that that particular server on that network is accessible, right? Same thing for 10, same thing for 13. And that's also very important, because what that means is that if I want a client from 5 to communicate with 1 and 10, I can do that as well. 13, no problem. Okay? So that's all it means. Concurrent connections we don't need to worry about, because that just means how many are connecting in at the same time. Compression, well, we'll just leave it as default, and we're good with that. I've selected inter-client communication because I want to also use remote desktop features. So that means that if I've got a client on 192.168.5.3 and I need to connect into 5, then I can do that as well, no problems. And I'm going to leave everything as is. It all looks pretty good. I've got my default domain at vpn-vnet.com. So I think that looks pretty good. I'm going to leave the ciphers as is. I'm not going to mess about with that. I think that's pretty good. Next. And I'm going to add in the firewall rules and the openvpn rules. You might need to, of course, adjust for your situation, but in most cases you want to have them in anyway. Click next and finish. Okay, so that's one part done. The next part that we have to make sure is we've got client export in, because what will happen is you may not have this OpenVPN client bit, which is fine, because all we need to do is we just need to install the package. So system, package manager, and I already have it installed, but essentially what we're looking for is OpenVPN client exports. And what that means is that this will then export the configuration for OpenVPN clients as of when we need it. And I've just realized that there's a newer version available. So I wonder if we can update. That's reinstallation. Okay, so perhaps not. Never mind. So what we'll do is we'll go back to VPN, OpenVPN, and what we'll notice is that a lot of this stuff is auto-populated for us. I want a silent installer. Well, I can put a silent installer in, but there's two things with this, right? With a silent installer, it's kind of good if you don't want your users to install anything, which is great, which for me is beneficial. But the fact that we're doing testing eludes us in the sense that we don't necessarily know what's going on. So let's take that off. I'm just going to leave everything as is. I'm not going to touch that, and just click Save as Default. That's all I'm going to do. What you'll realize now is that we don't have any OpenVPN clients using the user certificate, because we haven't created a certificate or a user to be exported. So the next thing that we have to do is create the user and the client certificate. So what we need to do is go to System, go to User Management, create our user called Test, and I'm going to just say Test and Test, and we will create a client certificate. Descriptive name is just client cert, right? Oh, we can say test cert, right? It's test user cert. So test user cert. Go for RCA. Leave this all as default because we don't want to touch it just yet. And that looks pretty good. Let's click save. Not now. User login will leave because that's provided some intermittent problems. So for example, we might not even be able to log into the server itself. So because we're not able to log into the server, it might reject the user in terms of the login for the VPN. So I'm going to leave that as is for now. That looks pretty good to me. Save that. And now what I'm going to do is go to VPN, OpenVPN, client export, and what we'll see is we now have the test user and their certificate as well. So the next thing that we want to do is we want to click on 64-bit installer. I've got a lot of these, so I'm going to make sure that 1194 is the one that we have. Looks pretty good. Click save. Now I'm on my own Wi-Fi, my own internal Wi-Fi, and the reason for this is because it seems to work quite well when I install this. If I'm on a different network, for some reason it doesn't work that well. But it shouldn't really matter anyway because it's an exe file and we've disabled the silent install. So we should be able to see every step of the installation process. When I've opened it, it now says protected by Windows, which is fine, it's ours. So all you have to do is click on more info, run anyway, and this should now present us with the OpenVPN installation. Okay, it's scanning because I've got Avast, which is fine. This may take a while. Just going to let it wind down. Okay, that looks good. Click on close, and we will modify our installation because I already have one. Or better yet, let's remove it and click yes, because I already have it installed, but that's fine. What I'll do is I'll reinstall it. You won't have to do this because there won't be any installation, but essentially we're just going to remove it and install it back in again. Okay, and we are back. So the next thing to do is reinstall it. Which looks like it's doing that as I speak. Install. Go through all the installation that we need. Pause installation, execute. Not found, installation aborted. Okay, that's fine. That's fine. What we need to do then, you know what, let's just re-download it. And we should be able to run. Avast being Avast again. Okay, click on close. And we'll install it. Okay, so OpenVPN has installed, and now it comes up with the OpenVPN post installer. So we'll click on install. Added in all those components. Now the test is essentially to connect onto my phone. Let's go to hotspot. Okay, and we're going to connect onto my hotspot. Just down here. Connect. Make sure the Wi-Fi is off on my phone, which it is. And now we will connect to that test client config. So test, enter, and there we go. We've got a successful connection. That should go green in a minute. And there we go. We're on our network. So how do we know that it's working? Well, if we start up something like Edge, I should now be able to access my services, right? So I should be able to access Pfsense 192.168.10.1, and I should be able to access that. Ad block, yeah, well, there you go, privacy error. So I can see it. It's on my internal network. I should be able to access stuff on 13 as well, my other servers, but I can't remember what's on 13 because I don't think I've got anything up, do I? Let me check. 192.168. Okay, my TrueNAS server is on 13, so I should be able to access that. So essentially, that's how you create a VPN. That's how you get it up and working. And now you can see that the information is coming down for TrueNAS as well, which is good. So I hope you've enjoyed this video. It's been pretty good. And yeah, let me know what your thoughts are. Oh, and like and subscribe. Make sure that you do that part as well. Cheers. Thank you. Really appreciate it. There we go. Hey, it's there. I don't know what a lock is, but I'll take it. That is working. There you go. There you go. Got the lock. We've got the username. Everything works. Sweet. Cool. So I'll catch you on the next one. Cheers. Thank you.